What's up YouTube? My name is Lexi. Welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a very Spark Notes quick run through of episodes 8 through 12 of season 8 of Love is Blind. This has by far been the most uninspiring season of Love is Blind whatsoever, and I don't know if season 9 is coming the same way. They could keep it in the drafts because no. Just no. Okay, so hopefully we'll have a good time. If you like my vibe, do subscribe. Now, without further ado, go grab your tea, grab your snack, grab whatever's gonna make you comfortable as you were listening to me, because I have a lot to say. But also, I am gonna have timestamps in the description or in the comments, so you could just skip along to whatever part you want to get to. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Instead of doing episodic breakdowns, I am just going to be doing couple by couple in terms of where they are in their storyline and just push the story forward, because we need to get out of this chapter. So we're going to start off with David and Lauren. Dave and Lauren's storyline has been the epicenter of the entire season, and it was really just a dragged out, very draining sequence of events to watch. Dave goes to the couple meetup and Dave is over here asking everybody if they've been intimate yet, if they had sex yet, yada yada yada. Very inappropriate. Like, you know, that's none of your business in the first place.
It's none of your business. Now go home.
And to me, watching that as a viewer, I'm just like, that just tells me that either you're a guy who was just very unlucky with women in general, or like you're just genuinely not here for this experience. Like, you're not here to actually bond and connect, because other women are giving him answers. Like, Taylor is telling him that, you know, in the past, like, I've rushed to that part and it hasn't worked out for me. Or Virginia tells him that there's other ways to explore intimacy, and he is not trying to hear any of that. He is just like, I'm on this vacation, I'm with this girl, I came here for a good time, I'm not here for nobody's marriage. Everybody is pretty much just talking so wonderfully about Lauren, and just like, you know, she makes sense for him, how she's a great person. And Dave is just not really very supportive of hearing any of that. He's not shooting it down, but his attitude is definitely not like, yeah, I know, she's the greatest. They get their phones back after Honduras. So Lauren is asking him, hey, when you get back, like, who's the first person who you want to reach out to? And of course, he says his sister. Flowers in the attic and his sister, you know, he's going to want to do everything with his sister. And he tells her that he is not going to talk to his sister with her. I'm sorry, if we're getting engaged, why are we not sitting down here having communication together? Like, with that, the whole point of me reaching out to you is to let you know that, hey, I'm engaged or whatever. So why are we not having these conversations? But it's because he don't want to be with Lauren. There's been a point in every woman's life where we have been a Lauren, windmilling and spiraling over somebody who did not deserve not one bit of a windmill. So I understand the plight of Lauren, but Lauren is a cautionary tale as terms of dating with low self-esteem. When you have low self-esteem, you know, you're gonna be not being able to see things very clearly. In every way that Dave could say, I don't want to be in this, she has just completely ignored every single red flag. When they're back in the apartments and whatnot, Dave shares that his mom really had a lot of control over his life. And I'm just like, okay, so you're a mama's boy and your mother was dictating your whole life and you haven't really had a lot of independence. And I'm like, maybe that's also why you rely so heavily on your sister, because she's the only female figure that you have in your life now. So in this sequence as well, Dave also is saying that he has shared the news with certain people, and basically the friends are coming back telling him about Lauren, about what she was doing with the friend of a friend, etc, etc. So all these people are coming back to him and warning him. So Dave is over here talking about the guy that she was with either 2 days or like a week before the experience, and Lauren is just like, you know, this was nothing so serious. Like, this really wasn't anything that was super time consuming. Like, this is not somebody who I saw a future with or whatever, so why is this such a big deal? Ironically, for whatever reason, the guy lives in the same building where they're all casted. That is very weird. I don't know if Chris Colleen had anything to do with that, but that's very weird. I get that it is very uncomfortable to have that kind of situation be playing out, but at the same time, I'm just like, are we going to move past this? Fast forward, no, we do not move past this. She has him meet her friends. They went to a spin class. First of all, spin class, I understand Dave's plight. Okay, I've done spin. I know that spin kicks my ass every time. But anyway, Dave is over here listening to her friends, and her friends are telling him, like, you know, this was nobody serious. Like, we didn't even meet him, like, yada yada. But sidebar, if I'm ever in trouble, like, I would never want these friends. I feel like they were just not convincing at all. One of the girls did clock the tea, was just like, have you ever been on a dating app? Have you ever gone to a bar? Have you ever hit on somebody? Like, that's pretty much the equivalent of where Lauren was with this person or whatever. And Dave is still grappling, trying to figure out his mind around the whole situation and if that's something that he's going to be able to get over and process. Now, real talk, this is how I feel about the situation. One, you just met this person a week or two ago or whatever, and granted, you were outside. Both of you should have been outside or whatever. But the problem is that when outside comes inside into the relationship, I can understand why that is bothersome. As somebody, for me, like, I don't like to have interminglings with my person. Like, if I'm dating you, I don't want to have, oh, like, you used to talk to my friend, you used to do XYZ with this person that I know, like, this person in close proximity of me has also been with you. Like, I'm not very tolerant of that, like, at all. So I understand Dave's plight about that. But the problem is that Dave is having these issues and he is not actually saying, yo, I can't deal with this and I'm moving on, or I'm moving forward and I'm sorry. And why is my situation being cluttered with all these other problems that are not mine, that I didn't bring into the relationship? So I understand Dave's plight, but I don't understand what is it doing for you to just keep on dangling this over this girl. And she is crying her eyes out. She is like passionately just like really begging and pleading with this man to talk to his family, to talk to his friends, to fight for what they have. Like, she is really doing the absolute most. And Dave, every time that he sees her cry, Dave is just looking at her just like, yeah. Yeah. Like, he is so unmotivated, he is so unmoved. And Lauren, she says that she wants somebody who has her back. Lauren, this person does not have your back whatsoever. He is not comforting you, he is not holding you, he is not hugging you, he is not even staying here to fix their problems. There was one Friday where the friends were supposed to come over so that she could introduce herself, she could clear her name, etc, etc, and that does not happen. Dave picked a fight, and instead of they having a conversation all together, Dave decides to leave. She's over here going in the back crying, and he didn't even say, like, let me figure things out with my fiance. The man who's supposed to be getting married to is letting his family and friends slander this girl and make it seem as if she's not good enough for him. So now, after he had a good old time, after he left you for hours, now he's coming back some raggedy time in the morning. He reached out to her some early butt crack time in the morning or whatever, and when she texts back, the bubble goes green. He claims that his phone died. I'm just like, nah, you was out with some girl. And he explains that he was over at this place called the Basement, and some of the pod people were there, and Molly was there, and they asked if he wanted to meet Molly. He said no. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna put a pin in it. I don't know, but I don't believe you. She also informs him that she went to go see her parents because her parents were also in town, but she prioritized his friends instead of her parents. So she is there and she's prioritizing his friends. She's trying to get this resolved. She says we should workshop what to say to my parents so that we could talk about why things aren't in alignment at the moment, etc, etc. And Dave is not trying to hear any of that because he's just like, you told you went to see you went to go see your parents. Like, it's like the idea of him having to actually be ingratiated into her family is very alarming for him. And I'm just like, yes, Dave, this is what the experience is. This is not therapy. So she wants to workshop. She wants to workshop an answer to give her parents. And I'm just like, girl, if you have to go through all this is not the man for you. On top of that, like, Dave has given her a whole lot of nothing. Dave is not giving her reassurance, not one time. Dave has just been a menace to her peace, and I was watching in horror because I was just like, Dave is gonna be the one to end the situation, when it really should be Lauren. It really should have been Lauren saying, no, this is too much, I'm going to leave because you can't keep on doing this to me. Like, it should have been Lauren, and instead of it being Lauren, she brings Dave to go meet her parents and whatnot. And I'm just like, when Dave meets Lauren's mother, Lauren's mom is pretty much like, what do I need to know about you? Like, why do you want to do this? And he's over here talking about how, like, oh, his friends are having kids and, like, that looks like fun. Kids are not purses. Kids are not, like, just something you just pick up and put down. Like, what do you mean it's fun? So I feel like listening to an answer like that would just give me so much pause right then and there. And then it wasn't even an answer of just like, no, I'm just so madly in love with your daughter. The mother asked him about meeting his parents and whatnot. Dave turns around and tells her that, oh, like, my father he's traveling and he's golfing all over the place, and my sister is doing XYZ. He's basically letting us know right then and there, My family is not going to be meeting you. He says that in conflict, like he stays there with Lauren to figure it out, and Lauren's just there just like, yeah. And I'm just like, Lauren, why are you lying to your parents like that? If he would lie to your mom, he's gonna be dishonest about a whole lot of things. Like, why are you not paying attention to all these signs that are telling you, hey girl, this is not it. This is all issues with dating with low self-esteem, because you're just missing clear indicators of somebody who is not about you. Her mom tells him that, you know, you're gonna get married and the opinions of others shouldn't matter. Sometime later after that, these two go bowling. They go on their bowling day, they're having a good time. She brings up Honduras and just like the fact that he said that he wants her to hold him accountable to things. He says that I got more than I bargained for, referring back to the whole situation and how much drama this has been and how draining this whole process has been. And you could just see like how exhausted Lauren is. And Lauren finally stands up and says like, if we cannot work past this, you might as well just let me know that this is over and this is not going to work out. Mind you, he's been giving clear signs all the long time. This is not going to work. So he also shares that, you know, he talked to his sister. Of course, Flowers in the Attic talked to his sister. Yes! Basically, the agreement was that, you know, she allowed him to go on the show. What do you mean she allowed you to go on the show? That's crazy. But anyway, she allowed him to go on the show, but not to get engaged. Mind you, this is the same guy that in the pause was over here talking about how, oh, well, he didn't have a lot of integrity. The man who the mother was telling him before she died that he needs to be a man of integrity. Why would you sign up for this program knowing that it ends in marriage? And Lauren is tired of hearing it all. Lauren and him go over to a private section. They talk, and pretty much Lauren, therefore, after Lauren had been denying for the past how many episodes that she was intimate with this guy like a week or 2 days before the experiment, she now admits that she was intimate with the guy about a week before going on to the experience. And I'm just like, her story has not been consistent. Her story has changed, which therefore leaves Dave to believe that he cannot trust you. So yes, Lauren is wrong for not being honest with Dave, but also just Dave and the way that he's carried himself has just absolutely just been asinine. Lauren is over here telling him that he's not ready for marriage. And yes, he's not ready for marriage. Like, we all knew that he wasn't ready for marriage, but at the same time, Lauren, like, maybe you aren't either. You should have never left the pause with this person, and if you even were married to this person, the marriage wouldn't have even worked because you're not aligned. So Dave didn't like hearing that she thinks that he's not ready for marriage, because then it triggers him into the conversation that he had with her father, and her father said the same thing. It was just like, well, if you can't move past certain issues, then clearly you're not ready for marriage either. So Dave is all upset because he's just like, oh, like, your father was saying a bunch of things about my family not being a part of this process. No, her father clocked you. Her father clocked you and noticed that you're not about your word and you're not trying to put his daughter in the best position. And then finally, he says it. My friends and family are important to me, and if he wanted her to meet them, they would have been here. Like, this whole time, we have been windmilling. We have been spending valuable footage on this couple. And for him to just turn around and say, if I really wanted you, my friends and family would have been here to support, to be here, to meet you. They would have rocked with whatever it was that I said. Thank God these two didn't work out. It would have just been catastrophic all over. So let's go over to Taylor and Daniel. Taylor and Daniel are our anchor couple, pretty much. They are the couple that we just know is going to end up together. Taylor was over here just telling Daniel like she's never had somebody reciprocate the energy that she has given in a relationship. So, you know, she's very overwhelmed by all the love and support that she is receiving from him. Daniel is smitten with this lady, so these two are just getting along so well. But what I loved was when they met the parents. Particularly Daniel's parents. When Taylor met Daniel's family, they were so welcoming and so sweet and just so wonderful. Like, they were just wonderful people all together. I was just like, this family, this makes my heart warm, you know. So this is definitely, and Taylor definitely lucked out to be in an experience like this where you don't know where you're going to be opening yourself up to, but to have such a beautiful and such a wonderful embracing family and a wonderful like man in Daniel. Like, she really hit the jackpot. They were sitting down in the living room explaining their whole experience in the pause. The mom turns around and she says, you know, like, she wanted somebody to be let into Daniel's world because she feels like Daniel doesn't open himself up enough. But if a girl would be able to get into his world, like she just knew, like the way that her son is or whatever, like she knew that the girl was going to be so lucky. And they also were talking about the experience, and the experience, like, it resonates so much with them because they have a daughter who's legally blind, and this is how she sees people. She sees people for their heart, for their character, for who they are and whatnot. So just to be in a family with just such just such refreshing, beautiful people, like Taylor, girl, mwah, chef's kiss. Taylor shares that, you know, her parents aren't really so gung-ho about the experience, particularly her mother. And then we get the scene where Daniel is meeting her mom and her dad or whatever, and this meeting was just something else. Basically, I do not like Taylor's mom at all, and it seems as if Taylor's mom was really strict with Taylor. When it came to her previous relationships, like, she involved her parents' input a lot, particularly her mom. And I think that there is a presentation of a boundary that her mother doesn't have when it comes to Taylor, because, you know, as a parent, like, you give birth to your children, but you can't just, like, hold their hand every step of the way. Like, your child eventually has to grow up and do things on their own. Taylor probably has some people-pleasing tendencies in her somewhere in there. The mom turns around and she's like, you know, where do you get off getting engaged without me, without telling me, da 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 da. And it's just like, girl, calm down. This is her life. And in the process of doing something on her own, she met a man who pretty much has lived up to every single standard, or has been an answer to a lot of her prayers. Like, you should be really happy that this happened for your daughter. And instead, she's all upset. So luckily, Daniel's parents come in and they meet together, and the way that Daniel's parents were able to just, like, you know, reinforce that this is their journey and we're there to support them and love them and guide them, but this is their journey, this is their lives, and we've done what we need to do as parents, and we have to trust them and their decision making. Like, I love his parents. They also explain that divorce is not an option. Like, Taylor is coming from a family where her parents are married for 50 years and Daniel's parents are married for 34 years, going on 35. These are long spanning marriages, and Taylor's mom is just like, divorce is not an option in our family. Taylor's mom had never seen the show, so she knew nothing about it. Daniel himself, he also said that he didn't watch the show either, but the producers reached out to him. And luckily, both of them lucked out, because, like, that decision, or like him saying, like, let's just do it or whatever, that ultimately has brought him to Taylor. So he's really extremely grateful for the whole experience. Daniel's dad brings up in their meeting that Taylor has said that Daniel was a very soft landing for her. And for him, he's somebody who's a little bit more intense, but no, in knowing his son is a little bit more balanced, more measured. He's very even keel and he's calm. And we even saw an example of that in terms of how he handled the whole Instagram situation. Like, I just love the way that his parents affirmed him. They just so confidently are able to defend his character, and I love that for him. Parents end up getting along. They're jokingly saying that, you know, the kids are coming to my house for Christmas. Like, so pretty much the two of these parents are in agreement that this is happening, and they're on the same page about it. So cool. Daniel formally goes and asks her parents' permission to marry their daughter. I loved watching their scenes. After the meetup, the next couple of scenes that we get from them, they're still getting along. They have like a Christmas themed photo shoot. When we get over to the dress fittings, we then get bombarded again with Taylor's mom. And Taylor, she tried on this dress and it was so cute. You know, it had a little bit of a deep cut, so her girls were outside a little bit, but it wasn't even anything that crazy. And then here goes her mom just making her feel so insecure about the dress, because she just, like, you know, a little cover up the girls a little bit more. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the people pleasing a bit, because she seems like she's such a strict mother on Taylor. Like, her eyes were beaming in the first dress and she looked really beautiful, but because her mom just made that comment of disapproval, then she went and she changed the entire dress into a whole dress that she didn't like. It's not that she didn't look beautiful, she still looked beautiful, but she didn't light up the same way in the second dress. And the second dress, to me, I didn't like the second dress that much. I think the first dress was the better dress for her. It was very sad to see that she didn't get the dress that she wanted. Taylor and Daniel, they have their last date together. And their last date just so happened to be her birthday. He made her breakfast in bed. There's ice skating, just being really sweet, really cute. It's just overall a beautiful, healthy moment for them. Next, we have Monica and Joey. my second runner-up favorite couple. So Monica and Joey, they move into the apartment complex, and Monica is just looking around at the decorations. She's just like, oh, everything's so minimal. Like, she's apparently, she likes to have things like in the apartment. And I'm just like, girl, you over here saying that you like clutter, you like a mess, like what's going on with you? So then they end up having a conversation about cleanliness. Joey says that he is a clean freak. So they're talking about how they both don't like folding clothes. So then we get this horror story from Monica. Monica is revealing to us that she had tossed some jeans down on the floor of her closet. For me, being a girly who, like, everything has to have a place, like, I can't have clutter going on in my living arrangements or whatever. So for me, hearing this story, I'm already on pins and needles just listening to her retell this horror story about how she threw jeans on the floor. And I was just like, why did you not put it in the drawer? She says that after she threw the jeans, that she said that it was in a pile with other clean clothes on the floor in the closet. I have thoughts, but anyway. So after some time, she went back to go and revisit the jeans. Why did the jeans have a spider web all up in the crotch of the jeans? And I was just like, girl. So then Joey also was looking at her in horror, just like, well, how long were the jeans there? And you say they were clean, like asking her all the vital information. And she's like laughing and kikiing, but I'm just like, girl, that will offset anybody that has OCD. So he tells her to do it. In this experience, do exactly what you do or whatever, because he has to like see if this is gonna trigger his OCD tendencies. They're talking about, like, you know, what goes in particular drawers, and Monica brings up socks and, like, you know, putting the socks together. He's just like, well, I'm not gonna wear your socks. And she's like, why not? And I'm just like, what do you mean why not? Like, I've never heard of communal socks. So anyway, she explains that her family has like a sock bin, and everybody would just pick up a pair of socks. And he's just like, but why can't everybody just get their own socks? And I had the same questions. But anyway, she was saying, like, you know, it's only my family's feet, like, it's no big deal. And production ain't shit. Like, why would production zoom in on her feet? And at that particular moment in time, like, her feet were just not the cleanest, and it was just like, girl, like, this this is not giving. So after that, Monica takes Joey to meet her family, and right off the bat, first of all, we get this interesting scene with her sister. And her sister was just like, you know, well, why have you been single for so long? I wish my sister would attack somebody who I'm dating like that on the first, or like just right off rip. Like, who are you talking to? So I'm just like, all right, the sister is a little funky. I'm not really feeling her too much, you know? But other than her sister, the rest of the family seems to be really, really wonderful with Joey. So they're all having a good time, they're bonding. Then all of a sudden the mom breaks out and she just says, it's time for a fam jam. I was like, what is that? All of a sudden we got instruments just being passed around to everybody. I'm just like, what is happening? They all break into this, like, you know, beating on the drums, playing the flute, this like crazy chaotic scene of them just bringing on tambourines, just all of them offbeat, just doing a bunch of madness. And I'm just like, if that were me, like in that situation, I already know I would have been like the road runner, meet me, get me up out of here, because no, why did y'all just do that? But Joey was a great sport about it. And he picked up his tambourine, he was shaking around and having a good time with them and whatnot. So that, luckily, that was not a deal breaker. And Monica was like super humiliated, rightfully so. So Monica takes him to go and see the communal sock bin and whatnot, and he's just so taken aback by the whole thing. But he says that he loves the fact that, you know, he loves finding out quirky things about families and whatnot. So it was just a funny kiki moment, and that was that. So then we get this scene where Monica is talking to her sister, and the sister is just a hater, like just a bona fide certified hater. The sister is over here telling her, like, you know, I thought I'd be the first one to get married. Mind you, her partner, the person she's dating at the moment, is somebody who was interested in Monica first. Like, he was trying to talk to Monica, and Monica said, you'd be so much better for my sister. Girl, if that is how you are giving it up, and if that's the life that you were living, you have no right to be commenting on me or my love life. Ma'am, please. Please. She says that she feels that Joey's performative. She says that she's not sure if Monica's getting a good read on him. She thinks that Joey's a good actor. And I'm just like, girl, you are a hater. And I don't resonate with stories like that. Like, me and my sister, we are so close. And I don't know like I love my sister to death. It's just like if my sister is happy in situation, I'm not just gonna go and pin it down. Like yes, as her older sister, I'll have an honest conversation with her if something is really going left. But if everything is above board for the most part, I'm not about to stress out my sister like that and destroy her opportunity at happiness. So when they get back to the apartment, Joey and Monica, they're recapping the night. They're talking about like how it went with the family, and Joey's just like, I think it went well with everybody except for your sister. So Monica is just like, yeah, I'd have to talk to her about that. How he was, then he asked her like, has she ever approved of anybody who you've ever brought home? And she was just like, no. So he's just like, so do you think that there's some form of jealousy in there? Clocked it. Because that's how I feel about it. I'm just like, if nobody has in this whole world has been good enough for you or whatever, good enough for you to pass through the sister vibe, then I feel like your sister is just jealous of you. Later on, Joey and Monica have a photo shoot with her sister. Nicole is apparently a photographer. So I'm not gonna lie, she took some amazing shots of Joey and Monica. They weren't listening to her cues. They were just happy. They were engulfed in the moment. And then Nicole says that, okay, well, maybe you won me over now because I'm trying to give you cues and you're not listening. That's how I could tell that a couple is like really into each other and they're in their own little world, etc., etc. So she says, I give you my blessing. He asked her, you know, like, was there anything that he did that gave her pause? And she responds back, oh, you have a lot of energy. What does that have to do with anything? And why was that so groundbreaking that you were just like, nah, this person is not it for my sister? Like, what was the real problem here? She says that we're a family, we're a family that naps. I'm just like, ma'am, you're also a family that just randomly bursts into an instrumental like marching band at any given moment. Like, what are you talking about? So the next time that we see these two, they're basically going for their dress fitting and suit fitting. Monica pulls out this dress and it was poofy and it had this like high split. It was so cute and just so fire. I was just like it was very, to me, it was very her. I was just like, nah, that is her dress. Like she looked amazing in the dress. And then we get over to Joey. Joey's in this like powder blue kind of suit. I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on with that. But anyway, his friends are in the suite with him and he's talking about it. And then Joey says that he is doing everything day by day. So whatever answer, whatever he feels that day is what he's going to be giving. And then I'm just like, oh, that's a red flag. Like, not, okay, maybe not red, but like it's like a yellow flag. Like, what do you mean? Because I'm just like, up until this point, I've pretty much just felt like these two are lock and key, lock and step with each other or whatever, other than her little messiness or whatever. But other than that, I felt like these two were pretty much in sync with one another. So I was a little bit taken aback by what he was saying. So then their last date, they're going over to the garden conservatory and it's really beautiful. And then they're talking about their connection. And in this conversation, all of a sudden Monica is letting us know that, you know, he hasn't really been too much into the PDA. He says that, you know, their love languages actually is words of affirmation. And I feel like they're not verbally affirming each other. And it's just like her thing is physical touch and he's not really into physical touch like that. So if physical touch is her love language and words of affirmation is her love language and she's feeling unsure, then that means that you're not affirming her verbally either. And if you're not affirming her physically or verbally, then clearly she's waiting for some kind of sign from you to say like, okay, well, we're mutually on the same page. And I feel like because she's not getting that and she's not really understanding like the love language that he's trying to present to her, like it's very confusing for her. So I don't know, I really hope that they could get through that and hopefully they'll be able to overcome that by the wedding, hopefully. I don't know. Devin and Virginia. I had said in my last video that I couldn't really get a good read on Virginia, but these episodes, Virginia, ma'am, Miss Ma'am, I have a lot of things to say about Miss Virginia. When it comes to this couple is a prime example of the reasons why I give a pause to women who date down. And yes, maturity is something that you can't always just attribute to age necessarily, but also maturity in other areas, not only in terms of conversation, but in terms of like the way that you act, the way that your finances, the way that you think about life, like the way that you have, you know, perspectives and stuff like that or whatever. All of these other ways of maturing is also very important to your relationships. And when it comes to women dating down, when a man traditionally is the one to really be, you know, he's supposed to be your partner, and if anything he's supposed to be the person who is taking care of you as a woman. And I'm not saying like in terms of like a gold digger or nothing like that, but I'm just saying like the man is traditionally the provider in the relationship. When I heard their dynamic in the pods, when he was over here talking about how he has like a coaching, he was like a coach and whatever, and this woman is already like she was like a healthcare executive, something like that or whatever. I'm just like, there is going to be a financial disparity within this couple, and I don't care what anybody says. You need to have your finances together in order to be in a relationship. I'm sorry, it's not love don't pay the bills. You cannot have romance without finance. So I'm just like, this is going to be a problem. Virginia, to me, like, Virginia gives some kind of earth sign. Like, I'm a Taurus, but I feel like I could say she's a Taurus, but I would believe she's like a Taurus or a Capricorn. Like one of those two signs I could see from my good sis Virginia. When we get back to the real world, Devin takes Virginia to his apartment, and Virginia's just like, I love it. At first, I let it rock. I was just like, all right, she's okay with the fact that he has his own place, yada, yada, yada. He takes her into his room, and we're seeing the sneaker collection that he had told her about. And she's just like, well, how much is that costing? And he's revealing, like, the amount of money that he spends on his sneakers. And I'm just like, well, Virginia, you're dating somebody who is a little bit younger than you. Like, that's what they do at that age when they have a little bit of money. So then we pan over to Virginia, and Virginia has a townhome all for herself, and her home was beautiful. And I was just like, Virginia, you are lying. You are not impressed by that man's home at all. To see the two contrasts of like her home versus like an apartment and whatnot, and seeing like, what she's actually created for herself and what he has, it very much so gives downsizing or downgrade. Then she's also saying that she's in a townhome right now, but the next property that she wants to have is a actual home with her person. She doesn't see herself moving into an apartment. His face just said, oh. And then he says he has some money saved up, kind of like I could contribute. So then he's asking, how would mortgage be paid? 50-50 or yada yada yada. And it's just like, you're not in a position to be married, and you're not in a position to be nowhere near Virginia. Virginia is looking for somebody who is going to be on the same page, same wavelength. You don't have to explain nothing to you. Like, this is not going to work. Devin was also explaining to her, basically giving a roadmap to what his plan is to become a CEO. And I'm just like, that sounds like it's going to be a very long road ahead. And Virginia very much so is already up here. Like, we don't have time to be straggling along you and your shoulda, coulda, wouldas. She's already financially set. She's already like in a position to actually start a family and whatnot, and you are still trying to figure yourself out as a young man. So he's not going to be able to match you and be on your same level. I'm listening to their conversation, and I'm also just like, well, this was conversations that should have been had in the pod. Like, what were y'all talking about in this pod? Because I had said, like, I didn't really understand what their connection was about. Like, I don't really understand how she even chose somebody like Devin, which is also why I feel like when she saw him at the reveal, I don't think that she was impressed, and I feel like she didn't want to embarrass him necessarily. But I never felt like Virginia was just like completely 1000% into this man. He brings up accounts, and he's just like, are they gonna have the same account? Are they gonna have separate accounts? These questions are rather dusty. They're rather dusty. I don't know if it's just because of the youth or what, but I'm just like, these are rather dusty questions, and I didn't like them at all for my good sis. So she says that, she's comfortable with separate accounts and then maybe a joint one later on in the process. And I'm just like, there is a pay disparity over here. He's talking about medical bills. I'm just like, this girl's gonna bring up a prenup. She has to bring up a prenup. Clocked it. A few minutes later, she goes and she's just like, we could even talk about a prenup. I was just like, Virginia explains that the prenup is going to be pretty standard. Like, everybody leaves with what they came with, and then they'll figure out assets and things like that gained within the marriage. She's so clever with how she brings it up. She's just like, you don't want me taking any of your basketball money and yada yada. I'm just like, Virginia is a master class in dark femininity. And like, I'm kikiing, but really and truly, this is a masterclass in how to use dark femininity against somebody. This woman is over here telling him about the basketball career that I know good and well she don't believe that he has. Like, I'm just like, girl, you are not fooling me. You do not believe in this man's basketball career, nan. So after that conversation, the next scene that we get from them, Virginia is meeting Devin's family. Devin's nosy dusty hating sister comes to Virginia talking about some, oh well, you're 32, like how are you guys gonna work on kids like immediately? Girl, I just met you 5 seconds ago. Don't be trying to figure out my ovaries business.
That's private. You gotta pay me more than $4,000 a week for me to talk in USD.
His brother asked Virginia again about the 50-50 and combining finances. Sir, what is going on? It's giving very much so. She looks like a good cash cow. She'll be able to support the family. She makes a lot of money and stuff like that. Like, you know, we'll be able to really ride into the sunset on the curtails of Virginia. Virginia actually brings up the idea of the prenup, and the way they all had looks on their faces, you would have thought she told them that she was kicking dogs on the weekend for fun. The mom is over here asking him, oh, if he lost his job, would you be there to support him? What are these questions? All of these questions were dusty questions, and after coming off the heels of watching an introduction like Daniel and Taylor, like most of the parents that we've ever seen on Love is Blind, like they don't ask questions that are pickpocketing in terms of like finances, and you guys are all critically looking at this woman who's supposed to be marrying your son who's supposed to be doing some form of providing for her or whatever. Why are you looking to Virginia to support your son? And on top of that, then the brother again is over here asking about, oh well, like, you know, if mom and dad go down, like would it be okay if they move into your home? Where is your home? Where is your materials? Where are your things, sir? Why is everything falling back on Virginia? Why are all of you using Virginia as your retirement plan? So ultimately, they all agree that they like Virginia. I'm just like, y'all are plotting on that lady to take her resources. I don't like y'all. And then we have somebody else that we want you to meet. These people take Virginia, beautiful, feminine Virginia, to go meet their pet family pig. Why do you have a pet pig? And I'm just like, listen, right then and there, Virginia was out. She went to go use the bathroom and she was in there assessing her entire life. But so now the family's all discussing about the prenup issue, and I'm just like, no, y'all are all plotting, and Virginia was very much so right to ask him about a prenup. Virginia then takes Devin over to meet her mom. Virginia's mom is super sweet. Meetup goes well. So now Devin and Virginia, they are recapping the whole meeting of her mom. Virginia's asking him, you know, maybe we should get into some of the things that my mom pointed out. Like, what will make you mad at me? What will make you just have to sleep in the other room? You know, like, she's trying to probe and get him to be more inquisitive about her and her thought and her mind. So Devin's bringing up small things. Well, not small, but like less serious things. So he's over here asking her about, like, you know, intimacy level, having respect for each other, PDA. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, she asked you about a prenup. You don't think this is the opportune time to talk about the prenup? Like, what's going on here, Devin? She takes it upon herself and she asks about politics. She's talking about reproduction rights. She's talking about like LGBTQ rights. Like, she's just talking about like how regressive we have been. She's surprised that we're having certain conversations in this day and age. And Devin doesn't have an opinion. Devin just kind of stays very mute. Devin says he doesn't really get involved in politics. As a black man, as somebody who is going to be directly impacted by so many of the decisions that legislation is making, you don't care about politics? Devin is over here in the bed and he's all like arms folded, crossed and whatnot. When it comes to the women's right issue, he's saying that, you know, he wants to be like, as a man, like, you know, he feels like these things should be talked about between both of these parties, and that goes without say, yes, but ultimately it is still the woman's decision. He confesses that his family typically votes conservative, and I'm just like, I was like, Virginia, go on ahead and pack your bags, because this man is Black MAGA. You need to leave.
You in danger, girl.
She says that her family doesn't vote that way and they vote Democratic. She says that you don't see a lot of like black Republicans, and he goes, my dad is black. And the way that she just kind of looks, you just like, well, I don't mean your dad. Listen here. There is black and then there's black. If you know, you know, and you know what I mean when I say that. And bringing up his dad being black, that didn't help. The next scene that we get is Virginia over at her dress fitting. Virginia's dress was my favorite. It was sparkly. It was very princess. Like, it just gave Virginia. Like, it was, I couldn't have picked a more perfect dress for a woman. Virginia brings up to him that she took the liberty of getting the prenup drawn out, and Devin is saying, oh, like, if we're going to be married forever, like, if you don't see it ending, then why do we even need this prenup? Like, what do you say to that argument? And she's just like, this is the business part of marriage. And I'm just like, Devin, you fool. But I'm just like, at the same time, I'm just like, maybe this is just another reflection of the fact that he is just young. Marriage is a business at the end of the day, and I don't see what is so wrong with a prenup. You just met this guy 3 weeks ago, whatever. I don't know you from a can of paint. Virginia is a woman with assets. She has plans, she has stock, she has herself financially set. It's the smart thing to do, to go and protect your assets. Whether we are in love forever or not, it's the smartest thing for her to do, especially in an experience like this. So he says that he's going to go and, you know, talk it over with his family and bring it in front of their family attorney. Cool, no problem. I don't see anything wrong with that, because that makes sense. Virginia and Devin, they go on their last date, and they're going on like a horseback carriage ride or whatever. So now she's playing around. She's just like, you know, let's pick our house somewhere over here. And he's just like, here? And I'm just like, is the neighborhood looking too expensive for you, Devin? Like, what's going on? So then she also is asking about like a champagne room, and he's just like, what's that? I'm just like, Virginia, please stop trying to make fetch happen here. This man is too young for you. This man is not on the same wavelength as you. You are over here trying to experience the finest things in life. This man has a pet pig. Please. They go to dinner, and Devin's just like, you know, I'm catching you staring at me or whatever, and she's staring at him, and I'm just like, not in adoration, but more so just like, is this what I'm about to choose for the rest of my life? Like, I feel like her look was just giving a lot of pensive energy. So then he presents her with this raggedy basketball with the Buckley's thing to symbolize their last name, with 2 jerseys or whatever. He's like, how it represents him, but it represents us. I'm like, sir, that represents you. And I'm just like looking at Virginia, like, let's be so for real. Virginia is not going to wear no raggedy jersey like that. And like, I understand the symbolism of what he was trying to do, but I'm just like, Virginia is not that girl, and you are very much so missing the mark with this gift. And this just looks dusty. So no, I didn't like that gift. Virginia said that she liked the gift, but she lied. The next time that we see Devin says that he reviewed over the prenup and they're good to go. He signs it, etc, etc. Virginia, she's just very good at luring Devin into like a false sense of security, and I'm just like, girl, you don't want this man. These two are not getting married. That is that. Lastly, we're going to talk about our most misaligned delusional couple, Sara and Ben. Sara and Ben have no business being together, but we're just going to get into all of their things. First thing where they are misaligned, obviously aside from the social justice issues, they are now misaligned in hygiene. We find out that Ben doesn't like to wash his hair but 1 time a week. Then we're also finding out that he doesn't like to do laundry. Like, he does laundry like once a month. I'm just like, what is your life looking like that you only do laundry like so infrequently? And then he's saying that he pretty much wears the same thing all the time. What is going on in your life, sir? And then he exposes Sara for the fact that she leaves all the tags on her clothes. I'm just like, y'all, okay. Moving on. They go into the real world, and pretty much this couple, like, they spend a lot of time gushing about how much they love each other. Like, it's a lot of surface hee ha ha kind of like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like, it's not based or rooted in anything, so it just seems extremely surface level and extremely performative. So now Ben is over here introducing Sara over to his friends, and Ben has a diverse set of friends. So that pretty much just kind of like shows that he is open to some extent. The friends ask her, you know, are you guys aligned on core values? Both of them are lying to their bonded teeth, trying to convince people that they align on core values when they don't. I'm just like, what? Y'all had serious disagreements in the pods, and I don't even understand why you guys are even here in this experience right now. The next time that we see them, Ben and Sara are in their apartment just gushing over each other. And then we get this moment where Sara is on her phone and she's looking on TikTok, and apparently this girl came up on TikTok and she's just explaining about, like, you know, somebody on Love is Blind season, basically the season that she's on, is a douchebag. They were a terrible person, etc, etc. She's like crying and she's like really distraught over the over whatever happened with this castmate. So Ben is just like, you know, I think she's talking about me. And I thought it was very out of place. Then lo and behold, Storytime with Ricky comes out and says that this was actually like refilmed because they had the moment earlier and they didn't catch it. But in the scene, Ben is explaining how this was a girl from like 4 years ago, how nothing serious had happened, how they had went out on like one day, maybe like a kiss or two or whatever, but they went on like one day and then they met up at a bar like twice. Sarah asked, like, did you go to her house? And he was just like, well, I think so, like, yes. But it really wasn't that serious for him to be like really remembering lock and step. And she says that, I remember relationships from 4 years ago and stuff like that. Like, I want to find out more. But she's just like, if I find out that it's more than what you're making it out to be, then I'm going to have a difficult time trusting you. And she said that she doesn't want to disregard what the girl's saying, but she's just like, we have to have further conversations about that to see if what he is telling her is true and checks out. The next day, Sara and Ben, they meet up. They're having a date. They basically bring up the TikTok thing again. So he's saying that he doesn't want this moment to overshadow like this connection that they've built, and he felt like it was very unfair that this person is coming out the woodwork to speak on him before he has an opportunity to speak for himself or demonstrate who he is throughout his character, etc., etc. But he doesn't want the situation to take up so much time that they're trying to resolve that she doesn't feel comfortable with saying yes at the altar. Sara ultimately says that, people grow, etc., etc. So she pretty much says that she gonna stick beside him, and they continue on with the process. Story time with Ricky pretty much uncovered that girl was over here just clout chasing, and that was it just really wasn't that serious. And she was over here just so distraught and crying because other people were telling her about their stories, and she was just so moved. And I'm just like, girl, you were out here fishing for clout. Like, please. The next time that we see Sara and Ben are meeting up with Sara's sister and her partner. Sara's sister and her partner clocked that tea immediately that these two are absolutely not aligned and they don't need to be together. They start off and they're in this, they're in the restaurant, and Sarah's over here just like gushing about how wonderful they are and how happy she is and how he makes her feel so special, etc., etc. Like, at first they were kind of embracing about where she is in her connection, but then she brings up what happened in the pods and talking about like where his stances were with injustices and religion. And Sarah's sister goes, you don't go to church. So this is already a misalignment. When asked about him going to church, she says that she's okay with it because it brings him peace. But she wants to find a church that ultimately is open to her views. Because she's just like, in the event that her and Ben have an LGBTQ child, she doesn't want that to be a problem. Sarah's sister's partner explains that it makes her feel as if, like, the word acceptance, it makes her feel as if something is wrong with them. And quite frankly, she doesn't care if she's accepted by the church or not. She makes a fair point that God created everybody in his image, and it is therefore still God's word to accept and love all. So Ben and Sara explain that they are socially liberal but conservative financially. And Sarah's sister clocks that as well, because she's just like, there's some ways that he is going to vote that will negatively impact her, and then there's some ways that they will vote together that will negatively impact them. Like, that does not work. That's a misalignment. She's encouraging Sara to have deeper conversations with Ben on where he stands on certain issues. So then Sara just kind of goes back into the whole, we love each other and we're so aligned and we're so perfect and we're so this and we're so that, just like in one ear and out the other. So Ben takes Sara to church. When Ben takes Sara to church, you would have sworn that this woman was in the middle of an exorcism. Like, she was so uncomfortable. She was sitting there. She was so unentertained, not listening to what's going on in the sermon. I'm just like, girl, what is your problem? And ironically, like, the sermon was actually about bringing your partner to church and bringing your partner closer to God. She just like, well, this church doesn't seem like it aligns with my views, and I hope that he's open to finding somewhere else. Basically, that lady is coming in and telling him, we are no longer going to this church, okay? The next time that we see Sara is over here getting fitted for her dress. Sara's dress also really beautiful. So Ben and Sara, for their last date, they have like an outdoor woodsy kind of date, and like their scenes usually go, they're gushing about how happy they are with each other, yada yada yada. Later on in the date, Sara brings up, hey, I was listening to a sermon, and Ben, you could just hear how excited he was. He's like, really? He was so impressed to hear what Sara had to say. And Sara comes back and Sara is just like, yeah, like, I found a sermon on how they feel about LGBTQ. She determined from that sermon that their views are traditional, therefore not aligning to what her views are. She was telling him, like, you know, I want to bring you to Pride, I want to bring you here, I want to bring you there. And Ben is trying to explain to this lady that church is there to implement good morals and good practices, good values for people to have in their daily life. Like, they don't just specifically focus on LGBTQ the way that she keeps on bringing it up. She's just like, but that's not what I want. And at this point in time, Ben is tired. Ben is tired of hearing Sarah's point of view on things. Ben is tired because she keeps on bringing this up like this is her entire personality and it's her entire life. And I'm just like, Sarah, girl, Ben is right here, because I'm just like, I don't understand you, and I don't understand how performative you have been. And if these issues were so serious and just so severe and so important to you, you would not have left the pause with Ben. So I'm just like, you are focusing so much time on this issue. And Ben says the same thing. He's just like, we're focusing so much time on this, and this is our last, just imagine this is like their last date, and they're over here trying to go over and rehash an issue that they have, you know, that they pretty much have talked about a number of times. It's kind of clear that Ben is not leaving his church. Ben is just annoyed at this point in time. So Sarah is looking at him, and Sarah is listening to his answers, and the look that Sarah is giving him is kind of just like, I don't approve of any of your answers. So Ben more so is saying that, like, her views are coming up so much that they're not focusing on the ways in which that they are aligned, and he wants to spend more time focusing on that. She literally sucked the fun out of this entire date.
Fun sucker!
And I'm just like, I could understand why Ben would be frustrated with that. So she's asking, you know, are there any more questions that you have for me? And he's just like, I'm exhausted. Like, I just want to go to bed. And he probably had more questions, but at this point in time, if you're just going to keep on, like, you know, beating this issue down, like, he's tired. He doesn't want to keep on having this conversation with you, girl. So we get the infamous pod meetup, all the couples meet up, like everybody who we've seen in this journey so far. That is the big infamous meetup that we see happen. So first things first, Lauren shows up. All of them are checking on her to make sure that she's okay, because they found out about her and Dave no longer being together. The first person who we see is Molly, and Molly goes to Lauren and they have this private conversation, and Molly is bringing up already the fact that they did in fact see him over at the basement lounge. How she didn't, like, officially go and meet Dave, so that was not a lie. Okay, cool, no problem. And then she's also informing Lauren how he had some girl that was all over him. I told you he was over here with some woman. And Lauren is like really quiet, so then Lauren tells her, you know, hey, we're no longer together anymore. So she's in shock, and she's just like, oh my god, what happened? So she's explaining and recapping the whole situation, and Molly is just like, you know, that really shouldn't have even been a big deal, da da da. And I'm just like, this is the thing, like, if Dave had a partner like Molly, somebody who would have put her foot down, and this is why he didn't choose Molly, because Molly was going to be a little bit too rebellious for him, and he needs somebody who he's going to be a little bit more able to control. But Molly, she wouldn't have been going for that nonsense. And Molly, one thing for sure about it, Molly would have been the one to end things with this man. She would have just been like, nope, you're not for me, I don't have to deal with any of this, I could just move on and go get somebody else or whatever. Like, Molly, I don't know, I like Molly. Molly was pretty much upset that he didn't defend Lauren in the situation, because that was his fiance and that's what she was owed at the time. So Molly also tells Lauren that she feels very protective of Lauren because of, like, how sweet and kind she was with the way that she, like, handled her whole interaction with her in the pause. So these two are going to be really good friends, and I love that. And I really hope that Molly's, like, independence and her, like, self-confidence and everything rubs off on Lauren, because Lauren really needs that kind of guidance, or like that kind of friend to really, like, just whip her into shape and just remind her, like, hey, you don't need to be taking anybody else's foolishness. Like, just, you're good by yourself, you're a great person, you're an amazing person. Like, you don't need to be listening to the naysayers. So anyway, Molly also says that she's glad that it didn't work out, because she got her phone back and she saw Dave and she was just like, you know what, I'm good, I could do battle by myself. So next we get Brittany, and she meets Devin. Brittany is not impressed at all. Brittany is just like, how he looks young, and I'm just like, Brittany is not giving, I really missed out on this man. Like, Brittany is just like, nah, it wouldn't have worked out, it's okay. She did confront him about his response to her being bisexual. Dave shows up. Back to Dave and Lauren. He shows up to the whole thing. Lauren takes it upon herself to ask him if he wants to talk. Girl, what is going on? You know, So anyway, she's asking him if he wants to talk. They talk, and he's basically saying how, like, you know, he thought about reaching out, but he didn't. And then he was just like, you know, he couldn't be mature enough to get over the situation, yada yada yada. Like, that whole scene, that whole sequence, it just very much so gave, I'm trying to get a good edit, don't make me out to be a bad guy, y'all. Like, that's pretty much what it gave. Dave is apologizing, and then he asked Curly, like, why didn't you text me? And just like, sir, she's already done all the work in this relationship. She's done everything. She's been windmilling this entire time. She doesn't need to text you or reach out to you, whatever. So ultimately, these two are kaput. They're not getting back together, and that is that. And that is the final nail in the coffin when it comes to Dave and Lauren's story. Thank God. Madison comes. Madison has this really cute pink hair, and I'm just like, girl, she's just so pretty. So I'm just like, girl, yes. So she comes and she's over here spilling all the tea. She recaps the whole situation with Alex, and she was basically saying that after they broke up in the pods and they were on the way back home, Alex got his phone back, found out that Madison was beautiful, and basically he was just like, you know, meet me in the airport, yada yada yada. So basically once he met her, like, he was over here trying to pick up where they left off, and Madison was just like, we just broke up in the pods, like, you were over here windmilling for Mason. And she was just like, you know, how do you feel about Mason? He said F Mason. So basically all that was being performative. Mason and Meg walk in, and they walk in hand in hand, and I'm just like, Meg, what happened to all of that strong women empowerment just now? What happened to, oh, I don't need to be nobody else's number two? This girl cracked and buckled and folded so fast. She got her phone back and she was just like, how's Mason? And she went to go find him, and then all of a sudden he reached out. He says that he gave his shoulda coulda wouldas, and she was just ready to do that, you know, ready to just pick up where they left off. They had their own reveal situation. It was cute, but it was just like, girl, I was rooting for you. I thought that you were gonna stand on business, and the business collapsed so fast. These two are now a thing. And then bringing it back to Madison, Madison was talking about Meg, and how Meg, she was also reaching out to Alex, and she hopped into his DMs, and she was just like, well, that rubbed me the wrong way, because as far as you knew that we were still in our connection, and you don't even know if we were engaged or not, and why are you jumping into his DMs? And I was just like, I mean, period. Why? Like, that is messy. That is messy, Meg. So Molly and Dave finally meet. She feels like after listening to all of the details of what is going on in her situation, in his situation with Lauren, she feels as if like he was trying to do all these things to get her to end the engagement. Clocked it. Period. Because that's exactly what he was doing. He was just like, I don't want to be in this relationship, whatever. I'm not trying to come out as a bad guy, but I don't want to be in this anymore. She's asking him all the hard-hitting questions. She's like, you know, why didn't you defend Lauren to your family? But then she goes back and asks him, when was the last time that you were intimate with somebody or whatever? And he says, like, you know, other than like Lauren, like probably like 4 years ago. I was like, Lauren, after this man was putting you through so much, you gave your body to him? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this girl, I really hope that in this reunion, we're going to see a totally revamped and revised version of Lauren, because that was just terrible, terrible vagina management. He then brings up his sister again. Flowers in the Attic pretty much tells Molly that he was allowed to come to the show but not get engaged. And at that point in time, Molly just defends Lauren one last time, and she picks up herself and goes. The couples go for their Bachelor and Bachelorette party. The guys are out there. They're over at the Vikings, like the football team. They're throwing the football at their training facility. And the girls, they had our women dressed up as elderly people, and they were just let loose in the Mall of America. That I don't understand. Last season they did the same kind of like nonsense where they had the guys shooting like a free throws at the Wizards game, and then they had the girls over at a sleepover. Like, what is happening here? Give these people a proper send-off. But anyway, the girls seem to be pretty happy. They're going on a carousel. And I don't understand what about the theme told Sara, hey, I need to leave my underwear at home. I'm going to cut it off here, because at the end of this episode, we pretty much are getting cliffhangered, because Ben and Sara, they're down the aisle, and we cut off after Sara is asked if she takes Ben to be her husband. Drop down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. If you like my vibe, do subscribe. I hope you had a good time hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video. Mwah. Take care.